I'm Ryan Woodings. I'm Chief Geek of MetaGeek. I'm actually the founder of MetaGeek. And I was the CEO for a long time, and I kind of missed being in the product. Back when we were doing Tech Field Day 1 and 2, I was up here presenting because I was kind of running the product. And then I kind of became CEO for a long time. About a year ago, I was like, I'm tired of being CEO. I want to go back to doing product and getting my hands dirty. And so for last year, I've been doing that, and we've got a lot of good stuff to show you today. And so I'm going to turn it back over to Adam to introduce himself.
Yep. My name is Adam Miedema. I'm not the founder of MetaGeek. That was Ryan. But I'm a product manager. I've been there for about 3 years now. I came from Seattle before that to a little town in Boise. And it's been pretty awesome. It's been a pretty awesome place to live and a pretty awesome company to be at. And just working at MetaGeek and innovation and the stuff that we're doing, it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun being a product manager there.
All right, last night at the reception, somebody asked me, so what do you do at MetaGeek? And I was like, oh, I should probably add the slide in that kind of goes back a little bit. So MetaGeek has been around since 2005. It started as a little side business for me. So this is the very first Wi-Fi. It was originally a wireless mouse dongle that I retrofitted into a poor man's spectrum analyzer. This was the software. It was amazing at the time. There was Cognio. It's like $3,000. Super amazing PCMCA card. And I came out with this that was $100. And it looks like it should be worth $100 compared to $3,000. But it was a good start. And when we started, we didn't have an office. This is me and my little brother. I coerced him to working for free to help package things in the living room because they have an office. So MetaGeek had very kind of humble beginnings. We're not VC-backed company or anything like that. So we're self-funded, bootstrapped company. And we've been doing wireless tools since 2005, trying to make wireless better. As you guys know, you've probably seen a lot of our tools. So at the beginning, we had Wi-Fi and Channelizer, focused very much on RF analysis with Spectrum. And then we added an Insider to get a little bit more of the Wi-Fi information. And then we took a lot of the stuff that we did at Insider and put it back into Channelizer. So Channelizer had some Wi-Fi information and some Spectrum. And then, as Tom mentioned, in 2012, I think it was, at Wireless Field Day 2, we introduced IPA. And IPA was our first step into Wi-Fi packets. At the time, we thought we understood Wi-Fi, and as soon as we did IPA, we realized we did not understand Wi-Fi. And so we brought in Keith to give us some training. And ever since then, we've been diving a lot more into Wi-Fi. A lot of our people are now CWNA, CWAP, a couple CWSPs. So we've been really trying to figure out Wi-Fi. And I think at this point, we're very knowledgeable about Wi-Fi and on the tool side. Probably most of you have used some of our tools over the years. And we'll go into more of our tools coming. But up to now, most of our tools are very single function and very siloed. Channelizer does Spectrum. It does it great. And IPA does packets. But they don't really talk to each other. They don't work together. And so today we'll be talking through some of those problems and what we're going to go do to solve them, work better.
Yeah, so maybe you saw I started putting some stuff on the board. I was told that I had to do this by Tom back there. So we wanted to do some illustrations, but to go again with what Ryan said, we have these tools that we have. We have Insider, we have Channelizer, we have IPA, and they're kind of just in their silos. So as we go through this presentation, this is going to be built out a little more so you can kind of see something unfold. But to go back to we took a step back and observed. You could see me being a creep on Casey, who's our customer experience person at MetaGeek. And the idea is just, like we at MetaGeek, we want to see our tools in action. We want to use our tools in action. We have a thing called dog fooding, which is basically before we release anything, we use it as if we were a user. And if we wouldn't want to use it, why would we want to ship it out? So we have this really just ingrained in our culture. And we also spent quite a bit of time going out and seeing how people use our tools in the field, talking to different types of users from your expert level down to maybe the more novice person that still needs to install Wi-Fi, verify Wi-Fi, and make sure that it's working, but they themselves aren't really a Wi-Fi expert. So we did a lot of observation, a lot of meeting up with people, talking to different people to really just see how our tools are being used in the wild. And so we're going to go through some of the observations that we had during this process and talk about how we're working to solve some of those issues that we've seen. And so the first one is laptops, not mobile enough. that picture, I actually did this just to do a little video for the Wi-Fi Air, where, hey, in this part of the video, I'm walking around with a big, heavy laptop. My arm's getting really tired. And if you watch the video, I eventually just collapse on the floor because, it's too much weight for me to handle. And then we cut over to me with the Wi-Fi Air, and I'm, skipping around. And I'll talk more about the Wi-Fi Air coming up. But that's just what we saw. A lot of technicians, a lot of installers, they use laptops, they use desktop software as more of a last resort, They will be more prone to just downloading a free app, whatever that free app might be, typically on an Android because the other options have no options. But yeah, they'll look at the Android, they'll do different types of free tests, free Wi-Fi scanners or speed tests, and all these different things that we're seeing them do. And if they can't find out what the issue is with that, maybe they'll escalate it to someone that has a MetaGeek product, or maybe they'll go to their car and bring in the laptop and start visualizing Wi-Fi with Channelizer, or looking more deep into a better Wi-Fi, a more robust Wi-Fi scanner in Insider. So we're really asking ourselves, can we leverage mobile devices that customers already have? Everyone already has an iOS device, an Android device. Maybe some people have Windows devices, but we didn't quite work on that. So I want to show you guys a demo. So this is the Wi-Fi Air. And I think some of you guys have seen it, some of you guys have it. But this is the next generation of Wi-Fi, the product line that we came out with just a couple months ago at MetaGeek. So this has both the dual band spectrum analyzer that would be present in a Wi-Fi DBX, or that you're familiar with the Wi-Fi DBX. But it also has a Wi-Fi chipset. And the reason why we wanted to have a Wi-Fi chipset is to unlock that mobility that we get with being able to use a handheld device. And I just need to go and set this up real quick. So I'm going to mirror AirViewer, which is an app that utilizes the Wi-Fi Air.
Well, Adam's getting that set up. How many of you guys have used a Wi-Fi before? Familiar with Wi-Fi? Most people? Okay, cool.
So I just need to make sure that I'm on the same Wi-Fi network. Pause guest wireless. Yep. There we go. Buffer set. All right, so AirViewer is available on iOS and Android, and what I'm showing you guys right now is a work in progress version. So this is different than the one that you would get from the stores, but this is something that we're currently working on, and we're going to release pretty soon. If you've seen AirViewer before, you probably noticed there's this big blue button in the bottom tab area. We'll come back to that later, but that's one of the new features that this version will offer. But you also notice that the settings is gone from the lower right, and we actually moved that to a hamburger icon that you could pull out and then go to networks and channels. And this new thing that I'm not going to say right now, but you could also go to settings and do some stuff in there. So basically, when you launch it, it looks like a typical Wi-Fi scanner. You see the ziggurats, you see the networks, you see the signal strengths that correlate to those networks. And then on this networks tab right here, basically it's just showing you all the networks that's being picked up by the Wi-Fi Air. And if you go back into the settings, you could toggle off some of these ranges that you see up here, the different uni ranges. And so if you toggle one of those off, that will tell the Wi-Fi Air not to scan those channels, either with the Wi-Fi chip or with the spec-an. So which is pretty cool because we're able just to scan a little faster once we toggle off some of the channels that we don't really care about. If we're not using it, or if it's not available, or whatever the reason might be. And then from this view, you could drill down into the details of the network, see how many BSSs are being picked up by the Wi-Fi Air at this location. how many clients is being picked up. So this is seeing the communication between a client and an AP, and we're able to see that relationship and then apply it here. And so this is something that's really new. I mean, the WiSpy Air is pretty cool because it's kind of like we're doing a bunch of little packet captures, and then we're able to see those relationships by looking at the different types of frames and the different elements within the frame to be able to say, hey, this client's talking to this BSS, it's on that network. And then, of course, you could drill down into the client details to see more information, the signal strength of that client to the WiSpy Air, so you could kind of do some hot cold to find it, as well as a little bit of roaming history. So this doesn't give you like the immediate roaming history, like if something went from one channel to another. Basically what it does is if the WiSpy Air sees that the client is no longer on this channel, it'll just start looking across the other channels to see if it could pick up that client again. And then if I switch over to channels, this perspective is more about looking at the health of the channels, and this is also where the spectrum analyzer comes in. So in this view, you can see the spec-an populate with RF in there, and then you can look at some of the details for the client or for the channels at a high level.
Could you go back to that?
It was just starting to look interesting.
Yeah, that's so based on the current application, it seems like you're getting a lot better resolution, a lot finer, or at least a lot finer view there than maybe previous version. Is that kind of something that's happened there?
Not necessarily. It might depend on the device that you're using. Since I'm on a smaller screen, it might look a little higher res.
Okay.
If you're using a tablet, it might look a little less high res.
Can you export all this data, like maybe save the session and then send it to someone?
Some of that will come in later in the presentation. But since Francois, you asked a question, we do actually have this available in French. If you wanted to change your OS to French, our developer.
If ever you wanted to get lost,
What's that?
if ever you wanted to get lost, usually, whenever we translate our tools, we're so used to using them in English.
Yeah.
It's nice to know that they're available in French,
Yeah.
but don't give me Explorer or whatever browser in French. I'm like,
Yeah. But it is a cool capability that we have.
no, it's
Our key developer,
people like it.
yeah, our key developer is in France, so he's like, I'll just translate all this to French for you. And then we have some other people that we're working with, more on the Eastern European side, and some more in South America that don't want to read English, honestly. So not yet translated to Spanish, but we have that
more accessible,
capability.
the better.
Yeah, more accessible, the better. So that was the time I wanted to spend for just giving you guys a demo. If you guys have any questions, otherwise I'll tell you a little bit about what we're doing next.
I just had a question on your roaming. So I'm gathering you're scanning all those channels, picking up packets while you're dwelling. What's your dwell time per channel?
So one next on the roadmap is to improve how we do Wi-Fi scanning. So right now our dwell time is about 200 milliseconds on each channel, which I think we can make it a little more tight than that. And then a lot of this is also context-based, depending on the screen that you're on. So for this particular client, it's on channel 4. So we're just scanning 4 over and over and over and over and over.
So that the dynamically changes based on what?
Based on the context of the screen, yeah. And some other things that is on the near-term roadmap is to create some, like we have utilization in here for client and BSS, but it's just like in the moment. So we're going to put in more of an overtime view of utilization, so you can see if it's more of a persistent issue with the client, like it's just talking too much, too long, or if it was just like a little blip that you're just seeing right now.
Since you have the ability to lock on this channel while you're on the client, could you, as a troubleshooting technique, lock on that client's MAC address and then move to where he moves? So if he's roaming, you can follow along.
Yeah, and honestly, that's what I have done with testing. Like I'll hold this in one hand and I'll have another client in another hand, and I'll just follow it around and see how it roams, how it moves.
So it will change
and track the channel as the client moves, or will it?
Yeah, so if it does a little Wi-Fi sweep, so whenever you see that little blue circle up there, it's seeing a Wi-Fi sweep. If it no longer sees it on that channel, it will try to look on the other channels to see if it did roam. But as long as it's seen on the channel, it'll just stick to that channel. Francois, you got a question?
No, I was just thinking. I was thinking maybe you could watch the probe request coming out of the client device and see if, like, when the client device engaged the, its own roaming mechanism and be proactive about it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more we can do, and we could be watching, if it's doing like 811K stuff where it's checking for neighbor reports, things like that. One issue with the Air Viewer is there's only one Wi-Fi chip in there, and so we can't be checking both channels, so we can't get both sides of the roam, but we can be proactive about where it might go and do more with that. So I feel like what we have right now is sort of the beginning, and there's a lot more we can do as we evolve forward with it. But any ideas you guys have like that would be great for like, okay, what's the best way to track this client or to diagnose what's going on?
And also on the near-term roadmap is to have the Wi-Fi Air support be compatible with Channelizer and Insider as well. But given that I just showed you at a high level, this is what AirViewer currently does. This is the Wi-Fi Air. These are some of the capabilities. I would love to hear some, like feedback. Like, is there anything that after me presenting that, you're like, wow, if it did this, that would be awesome. That would save me a day. Any volunteers? Fret not. If you don't have anything, if you can't think of anything right now, we always love to get feedback. So you can email me directly at adam@metageek.com, and that goes for anyone that's watching this live or the recorded version of it. But yeah, just give us a feedback if anything pops to your mind, because this is a new product and we still want to iterate on
I do
it.
have one idea, being able to use either remote control in to the tablet phone, or use it as a sensor to send the data back, so I can give it to a technician and actually view what he's doing out on site while I'm back in the office.
Yeah, remote view would be
Yeah.
be pretty great with that.
Yeah, definitely. That would be awesome. That's one of the ideas that we have in our kind of long-term backlog of what could we possibly do with the Wi-Fi Air other than just being something that connects to our current tools or to your phone, but can it be like this little thing that you just drop, leave, and then see if it picks up something that you're looking for, like some kind of intermittent interference or some kind of intermittent thing that's going on in the network.
Has Adrian reached out to you guys at all as far as using that in Channelizer, or not Channelizer,
Wi-Fi Explorer.
yes,
Yeah.
Wi-Fi Explorer, because that's one of the places where I still use PX a whole lot. So has he reached out at all to find out if that data can also be consumed there?
Yeah, I don't think he hasn't reached out to me directly. Has he reached out to you?
No, I haven't talked about it yet.
Adrian?
Adrian.
If you're watching, Adrian,
Yeah.
you heard his email earlier. But yeah, it's another great, another great use for the tool for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.